The secret of the debt clock revealed now is quite timely, with $34 trillion in debt on this day, the second day of January 2024. We'll talk about this $34 trillion Ponzi scheme and how we got here as we explore. Indeed, the numbers in red represent the debt that we have in this country and in states, and the U.S. total debt, all of it together here. It's crazy. The interest on the debt is now well above $721 trillion here. It's crazy, or $1 billion. It's hard to keep up billions, trillions. It's insane. But this is where we're at, where even billions and trillions just become these numbers that float out there. And really, it's all unfathomable when you think about it. And how did we get here? Well, we got here by U.S. federal spending. That's really the crux of it all. The Federal Reserve plays a role because they feed the beast. They feed that beast, and that creates the U.S. federal budget deficit, which is spending in more than we take in. This is the revenue that we take in. Revenue per citizen. Look at the debt per citizen and the revenue per citizen. It's just unsustainable. But they can sustain it because they will, because of fractional reserve banking. Folks, that in of itself pretty much defines a Ponzi scheme, where you pay existing investors with the money from new investors. That's what Charles Ponzi created, and that is what we are living with today now. And it is just crazy to see these numbers. I didn't think it would be this quick, but indeed, here we are. $34 trillion in debt. And I know some people say, well, the debt doesn't matter because when you look at all the different other factors of it, like the debt to GDP ratio, well, folks, we're at near wartime levels with the debt to GDP ratio. I think the debt to GDP ratio during World War II was about 129 to 1. So we're close. And we're not at war, technically, although we are funding wars. There's no question about that. They're proxy wars. So we're spending a lot of money there. And but nonetheless, we can see this is the money that's being spent in defense. All of these budget items here account to all of this, including this $721 billion. That's going to tick up to $1 trillion soon. Speaking of $1 trillion, look at this. Credit card debt. We are contributing to it ourselves. Unfunded debt interest. That essentially is the derivatives market in a sense, fractional reserve banking. It's a Ponzi scheme, and in a sense, we're contributing to it. We're paying with money that we don't have as Americans in general. Hopefully not you in particular. I'd pray that most of us in this community are responsible enough to not incur so much debt. Some people, though, are having to do it just to make ends meet. This is unfathomable. $1.3 trillion in debt. In a sense, this is even scarier than this number because we as American citizens are contributing to it, which means that, hey, if they're doing it, then we can do it too. We shouldn't do it. And they can get away with it because of this. The U.S. M2 money supply. They keep on cranking out those dollars. Even though it is shrinking, you can see that number going down. The currency and credit derivatives continues to climb. That's the Ponzi. That's part of it. That's why the pyramid is there. It's a Ponzi scheme. You turn that pyramid upside down, you really see what it is. The tip of that pyramid is gold, and some people feel that the tip of that pyramid is silver. Nonetheless, this leaves us to the message today, quite timely from this Debt Clock Secret people. That is the Ponzi Scheme Award. And it goes to the U.S. Federal Reserve that has just celebrated its anniversary, as I talked about in a prior Debt Clock message video. But there it is. Wow. The U.S. Federal Reserve is the clear winner, the world champions. I know other central banks around the world, they have no limitations either on what they can do. Hence why we have fiat currencies around the world. There's no currency around the entire globe that is backed by anything other than government decree. That is fiat. So in a sense, all of them are doing it, and so we can do it too. And that amounts to we are the cleanest of the dirty shirts in the laundry pile. Still doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it good. Charles Ponzi knows he got away with it. You can get away with it for a while until you can. It'll continue to work until it can't. It'll continue to be corrupted until it won't. Till somebody changes something or the system crashes. One or the other. It's going to move in either one of those two different directions. And either way, it's going to be pain. Either austerity or a collapse or a reset. And that reset will be painful, I think, for a lot of people. Even if the dollars get revalued back down and to seemingly deflation, nothing ever works in tandem or in conjunction with other things that are being priced in the opposite direction. So we see here, this is a trophy. As a world champion, it goes to the Federal Reserve System. We have Charles Ponzi here on the left. Gentleman holding up, giving the award out. Very impressed with what Chairman Jerome Powell has been able to do, and his predecessors as well. One of his predecessors is the Secretary of Treasury, that's Janet Yellen. And you can see that Charles Ponzi is on top of something there. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it looks golden, but I think it's just maybe a rug or something, may not hold any significance. Whereas Chairman Jerome Powell has his feet on top of the dollars. He's trampling all over the value of the dollar. And it's essentially weaponized against us. You know, we weaponize the dollar with sanctions against other nations, but it's being weaponized against us as well, as a subscriber and viewer had mentioned in a comment on one of my latest videos. If you enjoy content like this, I have a whole playlist. I have a whole playlist of these videos. I've been capturing all of the messages. I have but one to get from a backdated one. And I want to say now that there may be times where I miss more in the future, but I'll always go back and try to capture them if I can, if I do miss them. But I want to try to stay as consistent with these as possible. But so far, I've captured all the messages saved for just one, and it's a doozy, and you'll see that video hopefully soon. But it's what I do on this channel. If you enjoy the content that you see here, I hope you will press the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you find value in what I do here. But this is a pretty simple message overall. It is a Ponzi scheme. And essentially, you know, you rob Peter to pay Paul. That's essentially what it is, by taking the investors that you promised to make returns on their money and give it to somebody else. The whole nature of fractional reserve banking. In fact, the whole derivative market could essentially be considered that type of thing too. Now, I do other videos on the debt clock as well too, with silver, and I'm going to be talking about that again hopefully soon as well. But let's just soak this in for a moment, because you look at it as the world champions, the world's most powerful central bank is the U.S. Federal Reserve. And they will continue to do this and drive this debt up. And $34 trillion. And what can we do to fight this? Is to be good stewards with our own money. We should do that by trying to work to stay out of debt ourselves, to be fiscally responsible, to look at your expenses, look at what's coming forward for you in the future. Save extra dollars for emergencies, so you don't have to spend your gold and silver if possible. It seems like it's doing the opposite direction, because holding these dollars, in a sense, is a losing proposition because they lose value. But, you know, the prices of gold and silver will fluctuate in spite of the value we know they have. So notwithstanding, it's best to hold those for the long term, because that's what gold and silver are for. We can do that so that we don't have to take part in the celebrations of the world champions of the Ponzi scheme award. No, yes, indeed. But $34 trillion, quite a timely message, because the U.S. Federal Reserve is at fault. But there's another even bigger player at fault, and that is the U.S. government. The U.S. government keeps spending your tax dollars and spending tax dollars that you have not paid into yet. Neither have your kids. Heck, maybe even your grandkids now, until something drastically changes. So we'll see what happens. But this is a powerful and important message on the U.S. debt clock. $34 trillion, folks. Man, it makes me angry when I think about it, and it's a big deal. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. And I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.